started the fire.
Yes, the fire rises.
How come you don't want me, man?
I have failed this city.
Today we face the monsters that are at our door and bring the fight to them. We will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight. This day we fight!
That's how winning is done.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to GameWatch, the once-a-week show where we talk about video games, and nothing but video games, and sometimes video game butts. So, today I'm starting what will hopefully be the start of a new series where I interview some cool indie devs. We talk about their game, talk about what inspired them, and maybe get into some interesting debates. We'll see. Well, Sega is better than Nintendo. We'll kind of find out here. So let me introduce the man from across the pond, the man who is showing us all how it's done. We have Rozz from Rozz Games. How you doing, buddy?
Hi, Nick. Hi, everybody. Hope you're having I was going to say a good night. It's a very different time of day here. Good afternoon. We're about 6 o'clock over in the US.
Yes, about 6:04 p.m. here in the States.
Okay, that's good.
So yeah, Rozz, for people who don't know you, could you introduce yourself, kind of tell us a little about yourself and what you do, and just kind of little brief about your game. We'll go into it here as we go.
Yeah, cool. So I'm currently working on a game called Super Polygon Grand Prix. It's my first sort of major, well, it's my first game really in a sense. I started it about 5 years ago, having worked in some very boring, completely unrelated office jobs for most of my life. COVID came along and I was made redundant, and I had a dream of making a game since I played the games back in the 80s and the 90s. So it seemed the right time to do it. Literally starting completely from scratch, didn't have a clue in terms of what I was doing. So yeah, it's been a really epic sort of 5-year journey, to kind of realise that dream, and gained a lot of support and feedback from guys such as yourself, Nick, and the community, and yeah, it's really starting to build into something now.
So let's see this game. Do you have any videos, linked to videos or pictures, so we can get a little visual aid to the audience?
Bear with me a moment.
Yeah. So For those who don't know, he's doing a racing game. For me, it's kind of inspired by Virtua Racing for the Sega arcade and the Genesis a little bit. But what brought you to create this game?
Essentially, it was something I always wanted to do. What I might try and do in a minute, but probably just to everybody, I'm having some issues with my webcam, but I may try and do a screen share so you'll actually see some footage in the background and keep that running.
Works for me. Works for me.
But yeah, essentially, it was something that I always wanted to do. As I say, I was in completely unrelated work. That it's always been my passion, computer games. I did my first little bit of coding when I was 5 years old, back on an 80s micro, and then life took over.
Which one? I'm curious.
Being from the UK, it was a ZX Spectrum. I think you'd pronounce it a ZX Spectrum over in the States.
Yeah. Us Americans, we don't know how to talk properly.
So yeah, it was really a case of, it was something that was always in the back of my mind, and I always felt a little bit out of. I think some people say everyone's got a novel in them or a book in them. I think with me, everyone's got a game in them. So it's a slightly different take on it. So yeah, it's something I always wanted to do, and it was a bit of a case of now or never, really, in terms of circumstances. It's do I plod on and do the same old thing all the time and never make what I wanted to make since I was a kid? I always remember and it is. You'll probably get onto this, Nick. The game is heavily inspired by virtual racing, Daytona, USA. You know, all
Daytona.
don't start me singing. I'll wake the neighbours up. It's 11 a.m. here. Sorry, 11 p.m. But yeah, ever since I sat there, I went down. I was at college at the time when virtual racing first came out. And it was, you know, in the very early days when you went out with a group of friends, and there was a group of 8 of us, and we went down to the seaside, and there was a huge arcade, you know, one of the old arcades down there that had all the great games there, and they've just got in an 8-player multiplayer link up of virtual racing. So not only was it a game the likes of which I'd never played, but I was with my best mates from college, and we were playing each other.
So the person who ran off the road, you just look 3 cabinets down and be like, "You wanker!"
Exactly. So yeah, so it's always been something I wanted to do, and you know, I live by the motto that you only live once. So if you want to try and go for it, go for it. You know. See what comes. So.
Yeah. So let's see this game. You're talking about sharing it.
Say again, sorry, you broke up.
Were you working on sharing it, or is this something that I would share? I'm kind of confused here.
Was I working on hearing it?
No, you said you had some videos to share.
Oh yeah, no, I'm trying to screen share with you.
Okay, if need be, just send me the links and I'll take care of it. But if you can,
cool.
It's cool. Yeah, sorry for the technical difficulties, folks. We're still kind of working out some stuff, but yeah, so I assume you're kind of a Sega kid growing up?
Yeah, absolutely. And before, I mean, being from the UK, it was micros, you know, most of the time, up until the Mega Drive came out. So the Mega Drive is a bit of a game changer for me. Again, being a huge fan of arcades back in the day. Yeah. You know, it was the first time it really came home. Someone brought one into my last day of what you call high school, I suppose, and everybody was allowed to bring something in. And one of my friends, it was really early on, I think it was about 1991, something like that, brought in their Mega Drive, and they had the original Streets of Rage and Golden Axe. And as you can imagine, it was an all boys school, so there was a load of lads there for the afternoon, last day of school. And someone brought the Mega Drive in, and yeah, it really was. Yeah. It was quite an experience and quite a memory.
People who were too young or maybe not even been born at the time don't realize the Mega Drive / Genesis for us here in the States was kind of the first time that arcade games kind of at least looked close to the arcade counterparts. Like you obviously had arcade ports way back as the Atari. But like when you looked at Altered Beast or even Street Fighter, like these games looked pretty close to their arcade counterparts.
Yeah, I mean they weren't far off at all. You know, I think these days, because things are analysed a lot more, you know, you've got loads of videos about the comparisons and technical specifications and so on.
Yeah, Digital Foundry and whatnot.
Yeah, and you know, back then you're looking on a much smaller CRT screen, so you haven't got that fidelity in the first place. And you know, it was really hard to tell the difference, and you weren't doing a side-by-side comparison. You'd play it in the
nowadays
arcade.
It's like, well, the Xbox version has like 3 more blades of grass. That means the PlayStation version is garbage by comparison.
Exactly. Yeah.
3 less blades of grass.
You wouldn't even notice. You know, it's absolute insanity. I'm still working on those links. Bear with me one moment.
It's okay. You know, as a host, it's my job to keep the stream going. So that's my part. Rolling. So yeah. So the stuff I want to ask you is, what game engine are you using to create this game?
So it's being made in Unity.
Okay.
There was no real reason at the time. I mean, the two big game engines that you can use, and you know, I was coming out as a complete newcomer at the time, so you can use Unity, or you can use Unreal. Unreal, I think, now is probably technically more advanced. What I found in the day, in particular, was because I was a newbie, it was like how much help is out there. You know, how many forums can I just go on to And
How many YouTube tutorials can you look up?
how many tutorials can I look at? And that's really it was the easier route in, because there was more, without going through some formal education or whatever have you. It's what can I just go out and learn myself. So that really was the deciding factor. What helps as well is because it's more of a retro style game, you're not as I'm not making the next version of, I don't know, I can't remember the last time I played a AAA game, but it's not the as you say, it's not the extra blades of grass that matter. It's not the fidelity that matters.
So I have studied some like computer animation modeling, so I have some knowledge. I'm not saying I'm an industry expert. I just know a few things. So what I'm about to ask might sound really stupid, but like for your average car, so I assume you're doing like a low poly modeling. How many tries are you using per car?
It's still in the tens of thousands. It's quite surprising. The reason the polygon count is relatively high is because most modern games add detail through shaders and through other procedural processes. So the mesh can be less complex, but what you're actually doing is you're adding a lot more detail in with post-processing, with various other bits and pieces that you put across the mesh. If you're doing a game that, because the view was to always make it look like a retro game, but to make it look in the way I remembered that retro game to be, not how they actually were. Because if you play them these days, they're very crude. So to get the visual fidelity that was required, the polygon count's actually high. To call it a low polygon game is somewhat misleading.
Yeah, it's been about like.
Yeah, because you haven't got the makeup, that kind of goes around the bases. You've got to literally make it. It's got to all be there in the model. The good point about that though is all modern PCs and consoles can push polygons like their heart's content. It is actually the shaders, the textures. Then you start using far more memory because you've got texture mapping going on, and blah 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 blah. You get your shader compiling stutter that goes, it's like the bane of the earth.
So one thing I want to ask you is, and I don't know how much you can comment on this, is there's kind of like this divide between like game developers and game players, because like games been heading in a certain direction, file sizes. Oh, there we go. File sizes have been exploding. They feel unoptimized, in the I want to call it an excuse, but in the sake of fairness, I'm just going to say it's the reason that a lot of these game developers, they say they're including 4K textures and whatnot. And my thing is, why not just have them as a separate download if they're that like huge? Because like to me, I've done research, and statistically, most people are still playing at 1080p, 1440p. So like that, like 50 gigabytes of 50 to 100 gigabytes of 4K textures are just not even being used. So what is your take on that? And if you can't comment on it, it's fine.
I mean, from my perspective, I think there's a business case to it to an extent. So the more complex you make, actually making the game available, because you have to go through third parties, you have to go through Steam or the PlayStation Store, etc., etc., etc. And once you start sort of carving the game up into bits, rather than having to deal with that process once and potentially the cost of dealing with that process once, you're multiplying it, and you're also potentially increasing the potential for issues. So every time you put something together,
the more complex you make something, and the more failure points you have.
Yeah, absolutely. Whereas if you just go, okay, we're going to give you the whole lot, here's your 4K textures, then clearly, within the settings, you can reduce that quality anyway in terms of performance. It just makes distribution easier, to be honest with you. It's as simple as that. It's very similar if you look at sort of streaming video. If you're on a 4K, a 4K streaming video service, or delivers 4K, then it will be in 4K. It's downsized at the other end, but the master is effectively the same. So yeah, it adds complexity. It it adds more risk to things, more things to go wrong.
I mean, I can definitely see where you're coming from. Like, I feel like the reason you stated are pretty sound. It's just, to me, I'm coming at this from a consumer angle, is, like, because of the rise of SSDs, people are going, like, we went from, like, people having, like, terabytes of hard drive. Now we're back to people having, like, 512 to a terabyte. So space is at a premium for a lot of people. And now you could have an entire, like Call of Duty is like 200-300 gigabytes. You could take up their entire hard drive. So it's like,
I mean, for me as well, it's more the frustration of, again, because I was inspired by the days of the arcade and the days of the Mega Drive and the Super Nintendo, whereby if you wanted to play, a game, and even the PlayStation, the Saturn, and so on and so forth. If you wanted to play the game, you'd come home from school for the former, or you might come home from the nightclub for the latter, and you just want to switch it on and play a game. I find, there is nothing more frustrating than switching a game on and finding out you have to wait for, a long update, and then you may not have room to play the game.
Yeah, and nowadays, like, even when, like, all right, console's updated, game is updated. Oh, they're doing. No, I have to compile shaders before I can play the game. There's another half hour. Gotta go to bed. I thought, like, I could play maybe for a half hour. Oh, shaders gotta compile, and that took a half hour. Gotta go to bed now.
Yeah, and it is just that thing. It's immediacy, isn't it? And it's similar to if you wanted to watch a TV show. You don't want to have to wait 25-30 minutes until the show starts. You just want it there and then. And I think that lack of immediacy is a bit of a problem.
Like honestly, one of the things I kind of like about digital games is I feel like they don't really do as much anymore. But like during like the late 2000s, early 2010s, they allowed preload to where you could download the game before launch. Like, let's say it launched on the 15th or whatever, so you could have the game on your hard drive, but it unlocked at midnight on launch day. So, like, you could play it when the clock strikes midnight. To me, that's a huge benefit for digital games. And so if we have more stuff like that, to where you can preload it and you can just, like, play right then and there. Because, yeah, like, launch day, like, it unlocks at midnight. I think any reasonable person can understand that. But that's cool. I like that.
And I think that's great. The other issue you then get though is there's always this thing of first day patches now. So a game will be launched at say midnight on a Thursday, and such a large number have the kind of the first day patch where there's a lot of stuff that there's kind of a lead time in terms of, okay, I've set my release date for say the 1st of January for argument's sake. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to enable people to, to pre-install it, or conversely, I'm not, but I simply need to get it certified for that particular date. So a build will be put in place, and that'll be sent off.
And there's
really knowing it's not going to work,
because a lot of this is from the days of like you press it onto a disc. It's not so much anymore. I mean, it's still kind of a thing, but like, so you submit your build to like Nintendo, Sony, or whatever, and they start putting the disc like a month, 2 months out. But you still that month or 2 months, you'd still work on like bug fixes or patches, and that's where a lot of day one patches come from. Which I kind of get it. It's stupid. I don't know.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong either. I mean, it's a lot of people still like your physical media because you get something, don't you? If you've got a room, a games room, and you've got lots of boxes, people still like that.
I still like it, but the problem is, at least from my perspective, is pretty much anything you buy on Xbox or Sony, they're just installers. They're not actually the game on the disc. Like Nintendo was kind of the last holdout because a lot of the Switch 1 games, you bought the game's there. Sometimes they needed downloads or whatever, but a lot of them you buy, whatever. Switch 2, it's not as much of a thing anymore. But let's kind of talk about your game here. I got it pulled up on the Steam page. So, I didn't realize they're still doing early access. That's cool. So yeah, it's $15, so not bad. Is that going to be the final price?
The plan is that if it does increase, it won't be by a huge amount, and it will really depend on what's included in the final the final piece of work. It would be a couple of dollars at most if it does increase. The idea really is I don't like DLC or microtransactions, so it's to get a load of content in. And I'd rather sort of do that up front and say, here's
All right,
everything, basically.
real quick before I play it, is it copyrighted music? Will I get dinged?
No, I've got the license. You're fine.
Well, you got the license, but do I?
No, you're fine. No, you're absolutely fine. It essentially belongs to me, so you're good to go.
Okay, because otherwise I just would have had the audio off. Okay, so this is the game. Okay, that looks really cool. Okay, so I have to ask this for my fellow deckers. What's the Steam Deck compatibility?
So it's currently ranked as playable.
Okay.
To get full validation. So the way Steam works is it's kind of a tiered process. So the first thing that they do is check that it works, which it does. The second step, which is where it's at now, is that it's playable. So reports generally, because I don't just use my own equipment, I'll get reports back from the wider community, is that it's essentially 60 frames per second stable. So there's no issues. The couple of bits that we've got to sort out are things like Steam want you to use very specific glyphs. So you got like press Y or press Z, press X, etc., etc., etc. Those graphics need to match the Steam Deck graphics. So although the X, the Y, the Z is correct, they're using more generic graphics to show those bits and pieces in the options menu. So it's kind of small stuff to get it over the final line. But yeah, the Steam Deck has its own Steam Deck OS build, so you're not trying to run a Windows game on your Steam Deck. There's a Windows game for Windows people, and there's a Steam version for Steam Deck people. So yeah, it's absolutely compatible and performant. Because it is in early access, what I'm very mindful is the game is being optimized as it heads towards final release. And
I was going to say, this looks freaking gorgeous.
I thank you very much, and it looks even better now. Now we've come on. I think this video is from a build that's probably about 12 months old now. So
oh wow!
So there's been quite a significant amount of work.
I mean, honestly, I'm thinking about getting this game myself. You're selling me on it, brother.
Well, thank you.
I like the way you got the sunset. It's like reflecting off of that. That is really nice.
Yeah, and again, for me, it was capturing the essence. It was all about capturing the essence of the games from past. But we live in a modern world as well, You need a game that at heart is modern as much as it is nostalgic. So it's trying to get that meeting between those two worlds. There are two graphics modes in the game. So there's a retro graphics mode and there's a modern graphics mode. So you can switch between the two. The retro graphics mode is far closer. If you actually scroll down, that's a good example. If you look at the screenshot on the left, that's using the retro graphics mode.
Which one?
Where did it go? It's disappeared. That one, yeah, that one there. I don't know why it's not.
Okay.
I mean, you may not be able to see it too clearly. You'll see that the wheels, for example, are using far fewer polygons, so you can see they're very angled. And there's no, if you look at the shading on the car, it's all completely flat shaded. So that's in the retro graphics mode. And if you look on the right, you'll see the wheels are rounded There's full kind of lighting and reflection effects. And if you look at the shadows as well, very basic shadows in the left, and there's much more defined shadows in the right. So there is that option, because a lot of players really do want, the really old school look, and you can toggle between the two depending on which.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with options.
Absolutely. But you can't please everybody. That's the other. You've got to be very careful when you're developing a game, particularly in early access, because feedback is great, but you can't take all feedback, because you end up making a game that isn't your game at the end of the day. So you do have to be quite careful with that.
So right now you're just shooting for Steam. Do you have any other platforms in mind?
Yeah. So it's confirmed on Steam, PlayStation, PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. I can't talk in any detail about.
Okay. I gotta ask you, why are you supporting the PS4? Because like that console is old as dirt, but like we keep seeing stuff come out for like Marvel Rivals is getting a build for it. Like, why are people still supporting the PS4? What is your game dev answer?
Do you want the game dev answer or the business answer? They're probably the same to an extent.
Yeah, I think they're the same.
Yeah. It's comparatively easy to run a game on that platform. So it's not a lot of work in terms of converting it, additional work. Now, although that market may be small and diminishing, it's still a market, and there's quite a bit, because of the nature of the game. It appeals to people with older consoles as much as it does to people with new consoles.
So basically, it runs no problem, and there's still at least a sizable enough chunk of people there who are still playing on the console, or still buying games for that console.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a balance, and it's the same with everything. The wider audience a game can get, the better. And when you're a very small indie, a solo indie dev, even an extra 100 people makes a difference, or an extra 50.
Kind of reminds me how Ubisoft released Just Dance 2020, 2021 for the Wii.
I do get some. I wasn't aware of it, but I can well believe it. I mean, I do get some very interesting comments on. There's a lot of people in the retro community that follow me on X and the like, and I get some very amusing comments. Asking for an Amiga conversion.
Well, let me ask you this, because could this run on a PlayStation 3?
The further you go back, the more difficult it becomes. So if you look at when you get to the PlayStation 4 era and beyond, the base architecture is fundamentally the same. So you're not rewriting the book. If you go back before that, every console was very different.
So like this could probably run on a Wii U.
It would run very slowly. I mean, you'd probably be getting into PowerPoint territory.
We're getting We're getting 30. We're getting 30 frames a second.
A minute. Or two.
Yeah. That's a joke.
So it is. There is a cutoff point. Obviously, the other thing with this game in particular is 60 frames per second is an absolute minimum. So that's if it doesn't
for racing games, that's kind of important.
Yeah, it's not a game that can run more slowly. And then at the higher end, very high frame rates are targeted. So. For the PS5, the latest series of Xbox, we're looking at 4K, 120 frames per second on those platforms, and then scaling down.
Well, here. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just shooting at platforms. Could it run on the Vita?
No.
I'm sorry. But the best part is, that if it could run on the Vita, there would be people who would buy it for the Vita.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Vita fans are something else. I'm a PSP guy myself, but Vita fans, they are a dedicated bunch.
Yeah, it's one of the, again. It's kind of the answer's sort of boring in a way. It's weighing up how hard is it to make it work versus how many people are going to play it. Now, if the number of people that are going to play it is low, but the making it works also low, then it makes sense to do it. If the amount of people are going to play it's low, but the effort's really high, then it doesn't make sense to do it. There's no.
That's why we still get Dreamcast games, because the effort to put a game on the Dreamcast is honestly relatively low. Like, it's not the most powerful system, but it
Yeah.
has some power. So like, if you're just having like a 2D game or a 2.5, like a lot of like Dreamcast could probably run it, and it's easy platform to work on, and go to release CDs for it. So that's why we get so many Dreamcast games.
Exactly, and it's also a captured market, because if you look at percentages, if you sell a game, a PlayStation game, you might, if you're lucky, get 0.01% of the PlayStation market. If you launch something on a much more sort of bespoke, where there's a community, essentially you might get 50% of that market buying the game, or 80% of that market.
And like talking about like the Dreamcast. The Dreamcast is a very dedicated market. Like, people would probably buy it, and plus the Dreamcast is unique because you could actually like publish a physical product without too much trouble, because it's just because they're still pressing plants for CD, so you can get a perfectly made CD for the Dreamcast, and people will buy it.
Absolutely.
So like, it might be closer to 67% of that market would buy your game.
Yeah.
A lot of them would buy it just because it's a Dreamcast game.
Yeah, and it really is, with those sort of more specialized, specialized areas. It's a completely different kettle of fish, because they're almost buying the game to support the platform that they love as much as they are to support the game itself.
Yeah.
So that it's really interesting. We've got the game running on the latest, I forget what it's called, but the latest Atari console, the Atari 8. The modern one. I've completely forgotten what it's called, but yes, it runs on that. So there is a big.
Oh, I could definitely see like this going well on Atari console.
Yeah.
Have you had any conversations with the Evercade people?
Evercade unfortunately doesn't have the architecture to support it in terms of the CPU power, mainly the CPU power. The biggest, even on sort of high spec hardware. Although the game has the veneer of a retro game, you're running 30 AI, so you've got 30 computer controlled cars. You've got full physics being adopted, so you've got physics on each tire in terms of working out the control. So although it looks simple, under the hood, the CPU requirement is actually pretty intensive. That's
and conversely, if you did want to put it on older hardware, you would really have to dumb down the game a lot, like almost essentially remake it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, if you look at so at the moment in terms of Nintendo, it's most likely that it'll be on the Switch 2 rather than the Switch. Now, the reason for that, the reason is, again, it comes down to CPU power. So the original Switch uses a CPU that runs at 1 megahertz. It's a very weak CPU, and what you'll find common with most Switch games is there won't be many other drivers. There won't be many other AI drivers. There might be 8 or 6 or 12. It tends to be quite a small field, and there's not a lot of physics going on. So again, the looks can be a little bit deceiving. If you're running 30 cars in full physics versus a game that has similar appearance, but it's actually running 8 or 12 cars, and they're not using full physics and on predetermined tracks, they're just driving about and sort of faking it, then the requirements are very different. Now, if the game can run well on the Switch, it will be on the Switch. But again, in terms of quality control, I've got minimums, which is it's got to be 60 frames a second. It's got to have the full 30 car grid. It's got to have the full AI, because that's sort of the differential where you're actually racing.
Yeah.
It feels like you're racing against other cars rather than sort of driving around the track and trying to avoid people.
Yeah, because we were talking about like putting it on different Switches, because like the Switch is kind of equivalent of like a PS3, Wii U kind of thing, and you said it would work, whereas Switch 2 is close to the PS4 Pro. So yeah, that kind of tracks.
You sort of hit minimums. It's quite interesting. Once you get over, and it depends on the components within whatever hardware it is. There'll be like a base low. There'll be the lowest level possible that you can run the game.
Yeah.
And once you go over that, it's kind of like it's very digital. it kind of goes from, it'll run at 30 frames a second or 60 to like 1 or 2, because you've literally gone over the, you know, the sort of the capability, the buffer level, and then it sort of falls down. So yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the PlayStation 4 is far more powerful than you know, the original Switch by a mile.
Yeah.
I think I've owned phones that are more powerful than the Switch.
Well, that's actually something I was about to bring up. You just gave me the perfect segue, actually. Have you considered mobile ports? Also, hey, Aline, how you doing? What's up? Oh, thank you, Aline. Sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, I actually had a version running on my old Samsung Galaxy, in a very simple format. It was just it was more of a just would it run, you know, and it did. I mean, it was an old phone, to be honest, but yeah, it ran. So with more modern phones, I think it's absolutely feasible to get it running on a phone of a certain specification. And again, phones get complicated because, you know, it's very similar to a PC. You've got all kinds of different levels of hardware depending on the phone itself. Then you've got to think about, you know, does it really suit touchscreen controls? So the game is fairly heavily analog, you know.
Yeah, plus when you go to mobile, you also got to think about tablets. Like, for example, if you have this on the iPhone, can it run on, like, obviously could probably run an iPad, I imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it's, how old's the iPad? You know, is it a year-old iPad? Is it a 3-year-old iPad? Is it a 5-year-old?
I imagine any iPad from like at least the last 3 years could probably run it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's
so. Eileen says, "Just chilling. What about you?" I am interviewing. I'm interviewing a really cool creator, and then Eileen says, "I've been on Twitch for a while. I'm multi-streaming actor on YouTube, Twitch, and X right now. So yeah, we got Rozz. But yeah, so is there any other, like, what other complications have you seen in, like, kind of developing the team? Because, like, how far along is it right
now? So in terms of completion, there's been I've made a real push over the last month, including a 17-hour day today. So sorry if I'm not particularly coherent. It's been from 6 a.m. in the UK to 11:40 in the UK now. So, you know, real crunch time. In terms of the content, that is now around 95% complete. A lot of people make indie games, and there were two things that I decided, you know, indie racing games in particular, and there were two things that I decided to do to differentiate the game from the crowd. One was, as I say, the complexity of the racing. So it looks like an old game, but it plays like a new game. That was kind of the thought process behind that. So that's pretty much there now. The second thing was to just absolutely smash the quantity. So in terms of what you get, so if you look at Virtual Racing Daytona USA, you had 3 tracks in the base model, 3 tracks back in the arcade game. The game now has, not released in early access yet, but the game now has 48 fully tested tracks. So you've got 48 different tracks to race on. And there are 75 individual cars. So there's 5 classes of cars. You've got your F1 style, your Formula style, your Indy style. Then you've got your Daytona USA style. You may have seen some posts today on getting the drifting right. So you've got that style of car. You've got karts in there as well. You've got some kind of futuristic racing cars. So there's 5 classes of cars, and then there's 75 cars. So if you do them, and then there's another game mode, which is championship mode. So instead of doing individual races, you race a season, and you gain points, and there's weather in there. There's some sort of light sim elements in there as well. So
here's something I'm wondering is, obviously this is cars, and like, do you base them off of real cars? Because obviously, like, you don't have a license for like a McLaren or Ferrari or whatever.
Yeah.
So how do you design them and not trigger copyright?
You can't go too close. I mean, a car's a car at the end of the day. If you've got a red pointy car and you don't call it a Ferrari, but it looks a bit like a Ferrari, there's no copyright infringement there. It's just it's a red car that looks like a Ferrari, you know.
But if you put a pixelated prancing pony on the back,
Yeah,
they're gonna come after you.
exactly. So it's I mean, it reminds me back in the day. I used to play a lot of sports games, and in England it was soccer, you know, as you would call it. And I always remember what they would do in the squads of the players to get away from copyright is they'd slightly change their names. So all the players, and they'd look like them, but they'd just have so you can get close, but you can't go too far.
So it was like David Yackham.
Yeah, exactly. David Yackham, you know, and he'd have the same haircut and all the rest of it. But as long as you're not actually completely copying something, you can get away with it. What I've tried to do in the game is there's a mix. I'd say there's about 20% of the cars that are, I call it for legal reasons, inspired by real life cars. But they've all got their, you know, very definite own twist. And then the rest are they're kind of just made up, you know. It's going back to when I was a kid, just, you know, drawing cars and then seeing how I wanted them to race and driving around with them. So there's a mixture in there's a few nods. And it's the same with the tracks. So again, 80% of the tracks are completely made up, and then 20% are based around real life tracks, but very, very loosely. You can't copyright a track layout, for argument's sake, you know.
Layout, but like calling it like a name or like some awesome landmarks, like for example, I know like the Empire State Building or the Chrysler Building. Those are actually copyrighted. So if you put those in your game, I don't know about the Golden Gate Bridge. I imagine it's probably similar. Or like, let's say you call your track Laguna Seca, or whatever. You know, they come after you or whatever.
So we have a track in the game that's called Californian Raceway, which is fairly similar to.
You should do one called Tooth of the Dragon, because I don't know if you've heard of like the series of roads called Tail of the Dragon.
Oh yeah, I have heard of that. Yeah.
I don't know if that's like a copyrighted name, but if it is, you should call it Tooth of the Dragon, because like everyone would probably know what it is, but like if it's Tooth of the Dragon, you can probably get away with it.
And you're getting into almost kind of wink, you know. It's not. It's a bit of fun, and but what you can't do is profit off of somebody else's, you know, property. Obviously, that's not allowed. But yeah, you can take inspiration. At the end of the day, everything's inspired by something else. It's just how closely, you know.
Nothing new under the sun.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's a real mix, and that's been part of the fun of it. It's even if, you know, there's something that I see that I like, it's okay. How can I make something that I like that reminds me of the thing that I've seen in the first place? So you come up with something.
Well, let me ask you this then. With this game being 95% complete, do you have any ideas for other games? Like, would you do a Polygon Grand Prix 2, or do you have an idea for a different genre? I mean, however much you want to share, my friend.
So there's a game that I was working in on Parallel, which is a sort of a top-down shooter against it was a small project. That's about 75% complete. And the reason I made that was because when you're in a project for 5 years, sometimes you just need something else to do. You know, you get stuck. You almost get a block.
As a comic creator myself, I completely relate.
Yeah, you think, you know, I'll just have this little side project and I'll work on that. So that's nearly complete. Now that won't be major. That'll be, you know, like a $199 thing. Mm-hmm. Get it finished and get it out there. People that have played it have enjoyed it and said, you know, we'd like this to be done. Yes. So again, if people like it, I'll release it. Even if they don't like it, or if they don't like it, I'll probably release it for free on itch.io anyway. So, you know, you might as well get it out there.
Well, I'll tell you people right now, I like this game. I'm probably gonna get it early access probably here in the next 2 weeks. So let me drop the stream link in the chat again. So if you guys could check his game out, it is on Steam right now. Let's see here. Can you wishlist it?
You can, yeah. Somewhere.
All right. And so Ultimate Kahuna says top-down shooters frightens my first third. See, what's even worse if it's a top-down twin stick shooter, though.
Yeah, it is. Well, no, it's not actually. That's not true. It's more of an inertia shooter. So the twist is, if you remember games such as Asteroids and the like, where
I do.
You would thrust and you'd the twist on this one is you can turn the inertia on and off. So there's a bit of a puzzle element in it, because in the stages, what you need to do is use an inertia at the right time and then turn it off at the right time. So there's a little bit of the Ikaruga type, you've got to switch to the right mode at the right time. So it's a bit more than just a standard shooting fair. Yeah, people that have enjoyed the very early builds of it. So wouldn't take a lot to get that done. So I'll be doing that. Next big project. I would love to do something like Star Fox if I could. Something like Star Fox.
Are you going to call it Barrel Roll?
Yeah, I mean it's
Project Barrel Roll.
I was trying to think of something. What could I call it? Yeah, not Star Fox. Maybe Planet Dog.
Planet Dog.
That could
no. Oh no! Like, I don't know, Star Fox. Like, I'm trying to think. Like, Stellar Cat.
Stellar Cat. Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah.
Like instead of like a fox or a dog, it's a cat.
Absolutely. I mean, the other thing I'd like to do is something story driven, because I used to love to write stories. Always loved to write stories. Way back in the day, I went to art school, and then I turned into a boring person. So I'd love to get back into that side of it. So yeah,
that would be harder.
Would be good. Say again, sorry.
No, I was sorry. Also, Kahuna was like, that would be harder. I don't know. I'm not much of a shooter kind of guy myself, unless it's like a FPS kind of thing. But yeah. So one thing I want to ask you is, so as you're aware, Hollow Knight Silksong released recently. You know what I'm saying? And it released for the price of $20, and there was a bit of a controversy among some indie devs that it was priced too low. As an indie dev, what's your take on that?
It's a difficult one, because in terms of what you price a product at, there's a lot of elements that make up that price. It's how much did it cost to make, for starters. I mean, with myself, it's essentially me making a game, so the cost is I'm not earning. I'm making the game myself, but in terms of external costs, that's a lot lower. Once you get into teams of indie devs, you're kind of in a different realm, because you're now running a business that has all kinds of other bits and pieces around it. I find it difficult to really comment on other people's pricing, because you don't understand that background and what's driving it. It's are they being greedy? Maybe. Are they
greedy by selling it for $20? Like, greedy would be selling it for $100, in my opinion. But,
Exactly. If people buy essentially the same product from EA year after year, where it's a roster update in a sports game, you pay another, and then you pay them for bits and pieces on top. People do tend to pay. It's a bit like known brands, isn't it? If you're buying a new sweater or a new shirt, and it's a big brand, you pay a premium for it. If you're buying it from some guy that that made it in his house down the road, which is kind of indie dev in a way, you're not going to pay the same price for the sweater or the shirt, even though it probably is a better sweater or a shirt, because it doesn't have the badge. So I think it's different. Something's at the end of the day, something's worth what people are willing to pay for it. And if they're not willing to pay for it, then you're probably charging too much.
Yeah, because we have this big controversy going on in gaming right now about game prices, about what's too much or whatever, And to me, and I'm coming at this from a consumer perspective. Like, I'm being very adamant, like, I come from consumer, you come from indie dev, and I think that's cool. I think Silksong, it's $20. They're kind of making a statement. Now, granted, they're, like you said, a name brand. They're also a highly anticipated game. Like, in the way that I see it, I think what they saw it is, all right, lots of people are going to buy this game anyway. Pricing at $20, they can make it work because they're a name brand game. They're a game that people have been waiting for. So it's going to be a high seller anyway. So I think they're probably hoping to make it up in volume. And because $20 is still, even with inflation, is still like impulse buy territory.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, with myself, because it's the first game I've ever made and I've got no experience whatsoever, it was really a case of suck it and see. That was the only way to do it. It was kind of like, come up with a price that seems reasonable or actually good in terms of the content you get. So make it attractive, because you're trying to get going in the gaming industry. So you take a different view. As you become more established, then those businesses will have a business model. They probably employ somebody that works out, if you put it at $20, you'll sell 1 million copies, and 1 million times 20 equals this. If you sell it at $40, you may only sell 200,000 copies. So your total is, the total revenue that you gain is less. You get more or less. So yeah, it's a very complicated thing to think about. Games prices overall, I actually, even with the big AAA prices, I don't think the base price is that bad, coming from the perspective of being a Mega Drive owner 20 plus years ago, when games cartridges were 40. I mean, I bought Virtual Racing on the Mega Drive. That was £65, which I think.
Also, I mean, Virtual Racing is kind of a special case because they stuck a giant chip in there, and then also with the cartridges, cost a lot more to produce. There's less market. Like, there's a lot of factors. I mean, a lot of games don't even get a disc release anymore. They just go straight to digital. So there's no packaging stuff. I'm very, like, to be honest, I've become like a patient gamer where it's like I have so many games on my backlog. I can wait a couple of years for the game to come down in price. Like, I think the last game I paid full price for was probably Dragon Quest 3 Remake. I paid $60 for that because, well, it's Dragon Quest 3. And it looks like I've been waiting for that remake for years. And $60 for that remake was worth it for me. But, like, I don't know. Just there's something about, like, that extra $10 that I just really don't like.
I mean, I think for me, it's in terms of the prices these days, with AAA and some indie games as well, is it's not so much the base price, it's the fact that you pay the base price and then you've got microtransactions and then you've got paid DLC, and then you've got so actually you think, well, $70, that's a lot of money, but then to unlock all the perks and all the characters in the game, that's going to be another $50, and that's where the true grievance is.
Like, for example. And then they have, like, these editions. Like, here's how I predict GTA 6 is going to come out. Is you're going to have the $70 base edition. There's no way they're selling it for $60. There's no freaking way. $70 minimum. That's going to be the base edition. But then they're going to have higher price tiers. And some of those higher price tiers are going to be like, hey, you can play the game 3 days early. Hey. And, like, I could see a $200 edition. We could play the game a full week early, and you know what? People are going to buy that. I don't like that. But that is their money. If they think paying $200 to play GTA 6 a week early, I think I question your mental faculties, but it is your money to do as you wish.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think the only issue I have with it is it comes across a little predatory. If you've got a company that knows people are addicted to a game, they really want to play it.
Yeah, that's why I stay away from Call of Duty.
Yeah.
But, like, GTA 6 is kind of like one of those, like, it is a once in a lifetime kind of game. Like, it is like it's a highly anticipated. Honestly, the only like game I could think that had similar levels of hype, like, we haven't seen hype like this in Skyrim. I would say. Yeah,
I mean, it's extremely rare. It's extremely rare, and I think it's it's got such a huge user base, and it has such wide appeal. Because you can play it in whichever way you want to play it. You can be the bad guy. You don't have to be the bad guy. You can.
Yeah.
It's very open. And it's got that legacy, and it was the first game that I think.
Yeah, plus with it being like probably the most anticipated game in history. Like there will never be another game as anticipated as GTA 6. They could get away with charging $200 to do a week early.
Yeah.
Like I could see them making gobs of money off of that. Like I don't agree with it, but I understand why they would do it.
It's and again, it's market forces. If people didn't pay it, they wouldn't do it. It's as simple as that. It really is as simple as that. I still haven't finished GTA 5.
Oh gosh, I've completed the main story like 3 times. I played it a lot I played online a lot during COVID. Like I had this guy that I played with, and we do like online stuff. Like I remember. Because like you have like your drug businesses and like we texting during the day planning out what we're gonna do at night, and like on numerous occasions we would, one of us would say, if the FBI could see these messages, they'd have some questions for us. Because like, all right, we'll do cocaine first, then we'll hit up meth. Like that.
No, we're just playing GTA. It's fine. Don't worry.
We're only criminals online. We're only criminals. We're only committing these grave offenses online. Please, my FBI agent. Please, no more anal probes.
And that's the best place for people to do it. Now, do it in a game. Don't do it in real life, and all is well.
Oh gosh.
But I mean, it's only my last word on.
I only steal cars on GTA. That's the only place I steal cars.
Exactly. And if you saw my driving in real life, you'd know why I only steal them in GTA.
God.
I'm terrible. I used to enjoy in GTA just driving around and obeying obeying the traffic lights. I'll just go for a little drive. Oh, the traffic lights are red. I'll just stop. I had a very strange.
He's like, we're someone's on to us. He's like, no more.
What would you say your favorite game of all time is, Nick?
Oh gosh. It changes. Like I have like a few games that I consider my favorites. Stuff like Golden Sun, Roller Coaster Tycoon, Diablo, Pokemon Red and Blue. Very much like an RPG guy.
Yeah.
Don't play as much anymore, but GTA 5, Tetris. Yeah. What about you, sir? What is your favorite game of all time?
I mean, I'm similar. I kind of change with the way. I suppose the ones that stuck with me would be the Fallout series, just for being very memorable.
Okay, which one?
My favorite's 2.
Oh, you're one of those people. I'm a New Vegas fan. New Vegas is my jam.
I like New Vegas as well.
Okay, you may stay on the stream then. You have redeemed yourself, sir.
I think it's funny. I think it's not so much the game. It was the time of life as well. It was a little bit like music. And if you're playing a game when you're going through a certain time in life, you remember it because it was part of that particular time. So yeah, I mean, clearly I like my my arcade races. So they've got to be up there. Your Daytonas and your virtual racings. My favourite racing game of all time, the old school, is Outrun 2, which I still fire up from time to time.
I do like racing games myself. But for me, I tend to like the ones you can like customize stuff. So probably mine is Need for Speed Underground 1.
Okay, yeah.
But I also like the Gran Turismo series.
Yeah.
Forza Horizon, like 3 or 4 is good. Need for Speed Heat is pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. But yeah, the ones where like you can have a car, customize it, put some stuff on it. That's kind of also why I liked GTA 5 and GTA Online, because they had kind of that element where you can buy cars, race them. So it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, and I think again that was the mass appeal, wasn't it? Because you could do that if you wanted to, but if you wanted to go straight, you didn't have to. And I think that's what really works with it. It was, you very much played it the way you wanted to play it. You
Yeah.
could just spend hours pimping up your ride, not do anything else. To be honest with you, and
Yeah, there's an entire group of people on GTA Online who just play it as a racing game.
yeah.
I mean, heck, I've known women who just play RDR2 as a horse game.
And I think my most memorable moment in a game is probably the opening sequence in BioShock, the first sort of half an hour in
Yeah.
BioShock, because that was something very different. It's very immersive. The water's coming in, and you're in this strange world that you'd never really seen anything quite like that at the time.
Yeah, because that was 2007. Like, we'd gotten some Halo stuff before that, but like we'd never really seen anything that to that level of scale. Like, we've seen spectacle, but we've never seen like the detail and like the emotion. Because usually it's like, oh, this is so cool, it's so exciting. Then it was like, the emotion. I loved how you went down and you saw stuff and revealed stuff. It was really cool.
Yeah, I think there was an artistry about it. It was almost artistic in terms it was pulling you through. So yeah, it will change again next week. It always does. It always does.
Yeah. And the other thing is, like, a lot of modern games just don't really interest me. Like, they all kind of play similar, and it's like, I don't know. Like, there's like if it's a modern game that I really like, I'll just wait for it to go on sale. Like right now, I'll probably purchase Final Fantasy VII Remake. On the next sale, because it's finally starting to hit $30. That's what I'm willing to pay for a lot of these games. Is I wait for it to hit $30 before I even consider buying it.
Yeah, and it's a time thing as well. I mean, when you're a kid, that's your priority. The new game's coming out. That's what I want to be doing next week. When you get a bit older, you've got other things to do in life.
I mean, heck, the game that I'm playing through right now is Saints Row 2, because for the longest time it didn't work on PCs, and then I recently discovered there's a mod that does make it work. I installed the mod, so now I'm just because I played through a chunk of Saints Row 2 before, but I never actually finished it. So now I'm playing through it, and I'm going to finish it.
I mean, it's another good reason to hold back, isn't it? Wait a year. Not only is it half price, it's now fixed. So you
fixed? Oh no! Wait a few years. What you do is it's fixed, and then all the DLC is done, and usually they have some sort of Ultimate Edition, which has the game. Like, the best thing ever is when you get the game and the Ultimate Edition for like $5. That is like the best thing ever. And then Ain't Hannah Brown, how you doing, buddy? But yeah. So I'm more of a patient gamer. But yeah, like I still game on the Switch sometimes. Like, for me, the Switch was cool because, and it still is for a little bit, is you can buy games physically for it. So if I want to own a game, like, for example, I have Suikoden 1 and 2 HD collection, because Suikoden 2 is a very expensive game on the PlayStation 1. So now I have it physically. Am I expecting that to be worth a lot of money? No. It's just, hey, I own it now, kind of thing.
Yeah. It's and that's a nice thing in of itself, isn't it? It's nice to collect and just.
Yeah, I have a bunch of collections for like the Cowabunga collection. I want to get the Lunar collection, the Mortal Kombat Legacy collection. I'll probably get for the Switch. It's just cool to actually have them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it just gives almost a bit more reality to life, because everything's is metaphysical these days. It's all digital. There can be that feeling of not really owning things so much. So I think it's always nice to.
Oh, sorry.
No, go on.
It's why I still have a bunch of PS3 games.
Yeah.
Like, I have the Uncharted games. I have Tales of Symphonia, collection. Because, like, I don't know.
The one thing I can't understand is these kind of semi-physical releases where you get a box, but then inside the box is just a Steam code. Or
Nintendo's Game Key card releases. Like, it is the worst of both worlds. It is like the worst of both things. And the whole thing of, like, yes, they will shut down the servers eventually. Yes, I realize that if you boot up your Wii, you can still re-download a lot of your games, but eventually they will turn off those servers.
Absolutely.
Like it will happen.
Yeah. So you're essentially buying a box with nothing in it.
Like, here's the thing: 100, like let's 500 years from now, okay, let's say they come across two things: a Sega Genesis with Sonic the Hedgehog 2, okay, and then they come across a Wii, with maybe they say it has Sonic the Hedgehog 2 in it, okay. There is a chance that Genesis and that Sonic 2 cartridge will work. A chance, mind you. There's no chance that you'll be able to re-download Sonic 2 on your Wii.
No, absolutely. And,
I'm not saying those cartridges will work after 500 years. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying there's a chance.
You might have to blow in them a bit, you know. Get the sound.
Now
out.
I know you're old school. You've been. Yeah, I'm sure you're very sore, Nathan, holding this channel up on your shoulders. So. Oh gosh. But yeah.
So you mentioned earlier you were more of a Sega guy than is it Sega? I always get it wrong. Sega. Yeah. And then I said Sega for years until I was about 14, 15. I was told off that I was not saying it correctly.
I mean, growing up, I called it the NES, but then I heard people just calling it the NES.
NES.
You know.
SNES. So you're more Sega than Nintendo on the whole.
Yeah, sadly, you'd be sore for a while. Hope you get better soon. Thank you. Yeah, that's Red and Raven. And the truck wreck. Oh, yeah, you're mentioning that in the Discord. Hope you get better soon, buddy. But, yeah, honestly, I've always kind of more enjoyed Sega. Like, I don't hate Nintendo. I like Nintendo stuff. I just more like Sonic. You know, I like Sega's products. I think you probably concluded I'm a huge Dreamcast fan. I still have a Sega Genesis, actually. I have one put up somewhere. I got a modified Game Gear. I like, as far as favorite consoles, though, my favorite console of all time is the PlayStation 1. That's my favorite. Because, like, it was like, oh, I had it as a kid. Basically, growing up, we had an NES. And then around the late 90s, we got a PlayStation 1. You know, kind of thing. But probably my number 2 favorite is a PSP. I love that console so much just because great games, but also the modability. Yeah.
You like your modding, don't you? I'm getting the vibe there.
Yeah, I like to mod my stuff. Like the 3DS is great. The best day ever was when I realized I could mod my 3DS. Like I remember that day because like when I got heard the news that they're shutting down the eShop, and I knew at that point, like, okay, modding at that point, open season.
Yeah.
And so I looked up tutorials. It was pretty straightforward. I did it, and I have a modded 3DS now. Have you ever modded your consoles?
No, I've never modded a car. I've built my own arcade machine, so that's probably the closest I've ever come to modding anything. I'm always worried about breaking things that exist, and I'm a lot less worried about making things that don't exist. Because if it goes wrong, I'm just where I started. Whereas if I've got something that works, and
that's why I usually tend to wait for soft mods, because I know I can't solder. Like, I know that you can mod your Switch Lite, but that requires like a mod chip and all that stuff, and I know I would mess it up because I can't solder. But if it's just moving programs around, well, like moving files, I can do that. Like, let me look up an instruction set. 3DS one was really interesting because you actually had to do like some seed mining or whatever.
Oh, I am.
Yeah, it was really interesting. But again, it was just following instructions, and I did that. It was relatively straightforward. PSP, really easy to mod. Again, just you got to drop the files in the right places, do the right things. It's easy. I have a modded Xbox, but like I had someone else do that for me because that's really tricky right there because you gotta get the right hard drive, you gotta sync it to the right disk drive. It's very yeah.
I think the closest I ever came was again back in the Mega Drive days when you wanted to play something from the USA or Japan region, and they had these kind of wedge-shaped things because the only region lock was the shape of the cartridges. So you had these these devices that you plugged into the cartridge slot, and then you could fit the Japanese or the PAL versions into the Mega Drive,
Or just use a Game Shark or Action Replay. Same
yeah,
thing.
yeah, absolutely. But,
I mean, one of the easiest mods. I don't know if they did this in the PAL territory, but in the NTSC Super Nintendo, literally the only thing stopping you from playing Japanese cartridges is there's 2 plastic tabs in the system. So the way, like, this is a mod so easy even you could do it. Is you took a pair of pliers, all right? You reach in there, you grab the tags, and you wiggle it, and you break off the tabs. You know, maybe sand it down a little bit, but you just wiggle it until you break off the 2 tabs. Congratulations, you now have a region-free Super Nintendo. It's so easy, even you could do it.
Those were the days before DRM. You know, it was different times.
But yeah, with the Sega, it was just like, you know, you gotta widen the hole, widen the hole.
I actually I bought a Saturn on the day of the day it came out in Europe. Again, I just started my first job. It was the first thing of any value that I'd bought. So I walked down to the local computer store and bought a Saturn with Virtua Fighter and Daytona USA as the packing games. And I got home and I plugged it into my CRT TV, and those big chunky televisions, and it started V-blanking. So you'd be playing the game and the screen would cut out every so often. So I phoned up the local computer store, and because I bought it on day one, they phoned a Sega representative out, and the Sega representatives actually ended up coming to my house. I was still at my mum's house at the time, and there were these people from Sega Europe that came down to my house, and they were testing the game, and it turned out that there was a fault in the SCART lead that was provided. So off the back of that, they took my SCART lead away. I think they gave me like £100 vouchers for games or something for the inconvenience. And off the back of that, they recalled all of the SCART leads in Europe because it had that particular fault. So an interesting way to be involved in.
So did you ever, like, your mates at the time who also got Saturns who found out about it, and when you told them it was because of you, like, did they have a reaction?
I think I was the only one with the Saturn, because I was a crazy kid, and I worked 2 jobs at the time. I was completely insane. I left school and I worked through the week in one job, and then I worked the weekend in another job. And they were working, they just left school, so they're working here and there and everywhere. And I think they were spending most of their money sort of down the pub rather than on Saturn. So I think I was the only person that had a Saturn at the time. And then the place that biggest regret is I exchanged my Saturn for a PS1. Now I know the PS1 means a lot to you, and it meant a lot to me. And had I bought a PS1 and kept my Saturn, I wouldn't have regretted it at all. But exchanging one for the other, that's a big regret now.
I mean, the Saturn is an interesting piece of kit. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, getting aside from like the interesting games, it's like the stuff it could do. The cartridge port in the back, and like you plug a video kind of card into it, and also the fact that it had a memory backup so you can save your games to the console. Like, it's interesting. I find it to be a fascinating console.
I mean, the main thing I remember about it, and I think the difference is the actual physical console itself. So irrespective of the technical side, but it felt so premium. When you buy something that just feels it was solid. It had the little soft, the soft open and shut CD case. And it had that kind of smell, that luxurious smell, and the control pads were
I see
great.
what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, went over to the, and I like 2D games as well. I mean, I think that was another big factor in it. It was a powerhouse at 2D fighting games and
The
shoot.
thing I love is like Saturn games have a certain look to them where it's like
Yeah.
you see it like Clockwork Knight or Magical Knight Ray Earth or whatever. It's like it looks like a Saturn game. Like I mean, there's also a PlayStation look, mind you, which is basically just take a picture, throw it in the background, and then have 3D models walk all over it. That's the PlayStation experience right there. Which, to be fair, it works. Honestly, it looks really cool.
No, it does, and it's it was working within the limitations of the time, wasn't it? You couldn't render that stuff in real time, so you had to put a picture in the background. And then there's the original Resident Evil games are a good example, aren't they?
Resident Evil, Square did that with like the Final Fantasy games. There's a lot of games that use that technique. That's why I call that like the PlayStation technique.
Yeah, had that aesthetic, didn't it? Definitely had that aesthetic.
Really interesting. It's like you said, because I could like put higher render backgrounds in it and whatnot. But yeah, the Saturn was interesting, I would say. And yeah, obviously the Dreamcast is that was a thing. That was a very wonderful console, and I love it. And I regret selling mine. I think I sold it. I told thing I needed money. That's probably one console that I probably would buy again.
What was your favorite Dreamcast game?
Soul Calibur. If you're gonna have me do one on top of my head is, I still boot up emulators from time to time and just play through Soul Calibur. I'm not much of a fighting game, but there's something about Soul Calibur that I just connect with.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think it's because it's got those fantasy elements as well. It's just a little bit more appealing. You've got such a variety in terms of the characters and the backgrounds, and it's got that almost semi-gothic sort of feel to it. It is that little
wide variety of characters, weapons, playstyles.
Yeah,
most fighting games are just this character does one type of punch. This character does a really long punch. This character throws a fireball. This character throws a different type of fireball. There's a bit of a sameness to it. For example, like Sonic Boom and Hadouken. They look different, but effectively, mechanically, they're kind of the same.
Yeah. So
I'm sure the Street Fighter fans are yelling at me right now, but I don't care.
It can seem like a bit of a reskin, can't it? It's the same game with a reskin put over the top of it.
Versus Soul Calibur, it's like you got one character with a sword. Who's more of a fencer, who's really fast, gets right in. They got another character with a sword who gets in there, but they're not as slow. Then you got someone with a staff who's more mid-range. It's like there's a much more of a variety of fighting styles. Like your approach to combat is so different with a lot of these characters. Like for mine is like the Valkyrie character with like the shield and the sword, because she's really freaking quick. Basically, my strategy when I do that is just to rush in there, wail on the opponent,
and run away.
What?
And run away.
No, maybe I dodge or whatever, but like I just get in there, wail, and if I can just get in, I can usually like kill the opponent in like 30 seconds or whatever. But like sometimes it can be pretty rough. But yeah, really fun. Really fun. Kind of thing. Have you ever played Bushido Blade for the PlayStation?
No, I don't think I have. I'm sure there was an earlier 16-bit version. I remember.
Bushido Blade is that game for the PlayStation where if it had like one-hit kills, or like let's say you hit them on the leg. Oh, we haven't seen you in forever, brother. Dear God, where have you been, man? It is good to see you. Sorry, I haven't seen that subscriber in a while, but you hit them in the leg, and they're kind of scroaching towards you, or whatever. Yeah. So fights can be over in 5 seconds, but so also it's but they had a variety of weapons.
Yeah, so it's more technical, sort of more of a technical kind of game.
Yeah, I'm pulling up a video of a fight. You can just kind of see it. Bushido Blade was really, really interesting. All right. Here's a long play for you.
I love the graphic style. That's
So
really
yeah,
cool.
you choose your weapon and whatnot. Yeah, it was like pretty content rich too. Right, there we go.
Kina. Yeah. Yeah.
I like the fact you've got a much larger arena, haven't you? It's not the usual. Or is this just a cutscene?
They're just running through it, yeah. But Darius, you know I'm doing a con this weekend, right? In Monroe. I'll be at Monroe Comic Con Friday and Saturday if you want to come see me. Yeah, you're 20 minutes away, but like I haven't seen you, bro. Hit me up. We should hang out. Let's see here. She keeps running away, like dear God. So, Rozz, you'll be right back. Okay, so yeah, Rozz is gonna take a quick break. So in the meantime, while he is taking care of his business, I guess I'll just promo my stuff. So if you've gotten to this, if you've gotten this far, please make sure to give us a like and subscribe if you haven't. That is always appreciated. But another thing you can do is Monroe Comic Con. Yeah, Monroe, Michigan. Down at the fairgrounds. Friday 5 to 9. I'll showcase that in a second. So if you haven't yet, we'll be dropping Street Fighter 4 and Owl's End here in a few weeks. We're going to be doing a launch stream on Friday, October 3rd. End of Volume 1. It's going to be pretty sweet. You can sign up to be notified at the link here. And then, yeah. So, yeah. Here's the con that I'm doing. I'm doing it this weekend. And, yep, got some cool guests there. Let's see here. I'll be in Artist Alley. Let's see here. Yep, there's me. There's the Phoenix Press right there. Yeehaw! I'll be at booth 617, but yeah, you'll see. Yep, there I am right there. And then yep, so they got Walter Jones, Scream, Sergeant Slaughter, James the Bar. Yes. Oh, Bill Morrison's really cool. All right. Yeah. Welcome back, Ross. I figured while I was gone, I might as well just do some self promo. It just kind of made sense. Yeah. I see you're back. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, good. Thank you.
It just made sense. You know, you're kind of gone. I just promoted my stuff real quick. It's fine.
Okay,
But yeah, getting back to it. What are some game designers that you admire?
Oh, that's a difficult one. I can tell you one I admire and hate at the same time.
Okay.
See if you can guess. He's made some great games, but he's often derided. Begins with P.
Wait, say that again.
Begins with P.
Do you know how little it... Peter Molyneux.
Peter Molyneux. I like him because he's hated, and I get. I don't condone, because obviously the thing he's famous for is promising so much. Over promising.
But at the same time, he still tries to innovate. Like, you can hate.
Yeah.
Like, I'm conflicted like you, where it's like I laugh at him for his stuff, but at the same time, he does legit try to innovate, like gameplay,
Yeah.
and like he tries to do things. Like he's trying to innovate, and he does do innovations. Like he
Yeah.
has innovated a lot. He's done good stuff. But at the same time, it's like you can plant an acorn, and over the course of the game, it'll sprout to a tree. Like honestly, everyone who complains about Todd Howard has nothing. I mean, Peter Molyneux has nothing on Todd. I don't know, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, the reason I sort of admire it is I like him because he's flawed, and I like flawed people. Maybe it's a British thing. I like people that aren't perfect.
Also, I just get the feeling Peter's not doing it maliciously. Like that's the thing. Like Todd, I feel, can be a bit of a huckster sometimes. With Peter, it's like he has all these ideas that he wants to do, and he gets really excited and he says about them. Like Peter, to me, is a person who doesn't know when to shut his mouth. You know. So it's like, oh, Peter, oh, you're just saying stuff again. Like that's to me, Peter. Like I don't hate the guy. Like I laugh at him.
I mean, it reminds me of when I'm coming up with ideas. And I've got, I can do this. I can do this. It'd be fantastic. But it's in my head. I don't. I think that's the difference, isn't it? Or rather than it being said out loud. But having said that, there's some great games that came out of it, and a lot of innovation at the same time. So yeah, I mean, I think game designers these days are probably more anonymous on the whole. I think it's
yeah, the era of the Rockstar dev is kind of over. Like the golden age was kind of the 2000s, 2010s. But outside of the ones who were already rock stars beforehand, like your Howards, your Kojimas, I think the only one that has kind of emerged is like maybe Cory Barlog.
Yeah.
But I mean Neil Druckmann, maybe, I don't know.
I think it has become more anonymous. It's it's more about the product, probably less so in the indie game world. I think there is still.
Well, that's because with indies and a lot of indies, whether it be video games or comics, they're usually like one person affairs, and we're the modeler, we're the animator, we're the voiceover actor, we're the programmer, we're also the marketing director. So
you have to make your own cup of tea. It's terrible.
Yeah, you have to make your own platform. You have to be the face of the stuff. So I think that's kind of why that's there, because it's kind of necessary in indie.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other reason is if you look at so I think there were two waves of the kind of Rockstar devs. So you had the Rockstar devs in the 80s, and they're almost tied to the early generational changes of consoles. So you went from 8-bit to 16-bit.
You're Sid Meier's of the world.
Yeah, it's and there were big leaps. Going from from nothing to 8-bit was a massive leap. So there was a lot of innovation because nothing existed before. Going from 8-bit to 16-bit was a massive leap because nothing had existed before in the same way.
I would say 8 to 16-bit was more of a refinement.
I would agree. Yeah.
Because like the big divide is 8-bit to 32-bit. Because the thing is, if you look at a lot of 16-bit games, like Super Mario World, Link to the Past, like pretty much all those games on Super Nintendo, graphically, a lot of them hold up today. Like if you were to release Super Mario World as an indie game, it would people would still be praising the graphics of that game.
They would. No, absolutely. And early pixel art has aged so much better than early 3D. If you look at the first generation of 3D games, most of them are absolutely terrible these days.
Look at Final Fantasy VII. Like the only way that people appreciate them is from a ironically nostalgia kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, look at this blocky cloud model. Like, oh, haha, I remember that from when I was a kid. Yeah. Versus you look at like Super Mario Brothers. Like that pixelated Mario feels more aesthetically pleasing than than the cloud model.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's an objective thing. Interestingly, I think a lot of the early 32 stuff, stuff. If people appreciate the look now, it's subjective and it's heavily based on nostalgia. Whereas if you look at pixel art, that art is still objectively as good as it was.
Like, I think the most beautiful games ever made are late Super Nintendo games, like the ones like 95, 96, like Secret of Mana 2, Tales of Fantasia, Star Ocean, where like they were doing like really, really good pixel art. Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it is timeless because it's it is what it is. I remember when I was back in school, in math, because I first started on my Z or ZX Spectrum back in the day. Rather than doing maths, I'd get my graph paper, and the way you'd do pixel art is it'd be an 8x8 or 16x16 squares. So what I'd be doing in maths when I'm supposed to be doing my work is I'd be drawing out my squares, my 8x8, and I'd be penciling in each individual character. So I'd be drawing it on paper first, and then when I got home, I would translate the things I was drawing on paper, into art. Because on those old computers, it was literally one bit. It was on or off. So it was a pixel on or a pixel off. So yeah, I have heavy respect for people that do pixel art. It's a very, very different talent and a very different skill to what we see today, where it's all about layering and using different materials and so on and so forth.
Yeah, because like with the pixels, it was sprites, layers, maybe some background stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where the Saturn shines a little bit, is because like the 2D games on the Saturn were incorporating 3D bits. Those actually, they look good then and they look good now.
Yeah, and it's as you mentioned before, and it's a very distinctive look. You can tell it's a Saturn game because you have that juxtaposition of great 2D art with 3D elements, and it was quite.
And you had some of those games on the PlayStation, mind you.
Yeah.
Like Legend of Mana looks gorgeous. I mean, Legend of Mana just doing the standard PlayStation look, but they have like this nice little pastel thing. Castlevania Symphony Night is just essentially 2D game.
I was literally just about to say that. What a game on the PlayStation 1 that was. Absolutely astonishing. Absolutely.
That game, that is like one of my favorite games of all time. I love it so much. But yeah, there's some pretty decent like 2.5D games on the PlayStation that are legit good, like Klonoa. Yeah. But at the same time, even the best 2.5D PlayStation games, Saturn still did it better.
Yeah, and for me, the nice thing about it was probably the last generation where there was a real difference between the consoles. If you look back to the Super Nintendo versus the Genesis or the Mega Drive, there was they had a uniqueness about them, and I think that carried on into the PlayStation and the Saturn era. And it gradually got eroded. It became harder and harder and harder as the subsequent generations came along to really tell the difference. PlayStation 2 and Xbox, to an extent, there was some separation. But these days, what's the difference really? It's a PC or a slightly less.
Especially
PC.
And the thing is, the last vestige of uniqueness was exclusives. But now we've had this war against exclusives for so long that like Gears of War is on the PlayStation. Like it's only a matter of time. Like I guarantee you, Halo Master Chief Collection is gonna show up on the Switch 2 eventually. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, it will.
Or Master Chief Collection on the PlayStation. You realize how big of a deal that will be for Master Chief on the PlayStation.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost come down to being similar to choosing a consumer product. Do I buy a Sony television or do I buy a name another company television? In that it's fundamentally the same and you can access the same material. So
I mean, roughly the same material. There's a few differences here or there.
Yeah. but it's definitely heading that way. There's a convergence in terms of what's available, which I think is sad. But people still find differences, and I don't think that's a bad thing, to be honest. A little bit of competition.
Yeah, I think competition is a good thing. Competition breeds innovation, and I think that's kind of one of the things that's causing the stagnation in the video game industry right now is the lack of competition. Because if you look at it, like one of the big things that spurred in the 90s was PlayStation entering the scene. And then 5 years later, when Xbox came on the scene, that forced PlayStation to innovate. Like the original Xbox was Sony's Sega Genesis.
Yeah.
Or Genesis, because like people don't realize Nintendo was not planning on releasing the Super Nintendo. The Genesis forced them to really push that forward.
That's right. Yeah. It's very interesting. What I always find interesting as well is when people talk about the gaming crash in America. It's the whole, you must have heard it. With ET being buried in the.
Oh yeah. In fact, one of my local museums has actually one of the ET carts from that landfill.
Yeah, it's so interesting coming.
It looks
from
like a crushed ET cart.
It's always so interesting coming from the UK because it never happened here. There was no crash at all. Largely because people were mainly playing micros. So instead of paying $40 for a cartridge, we were buying tapes and cassettes and discs, which may be $2 or $3.
Yeah, the conditions were like totally different in the UK than the US, and I know like in the last few years, there's kind of been this like push to be like, because as far as the industry just ground to a halt in 1983, 84, when it was really more just America thing. And yes, America is one of the largest economies in the world, especially during that time. Until the American video game industry crashed, yes, that is a hit, but it's like you said, only really in America was that happening, and so there's kind of been a push to label it the American video game crash, which, in my opinion, is pretty fair.
And it was, and to be honest, even as a crash, it was more of a bubble popping. It was very rapid growth. It went from nothing to something huge very quickly, possibly too quickly, and it didn't stay crashed for very long. If you look,
it was like a year and a half, maybe, because the NES did its test market in December of 1985. Okay, so like 84 to like most of 85, and then but also the other thing is, I think it kind of benefited because you do know at one point Nintendo was in talks with Atari, to license the Famicom in the US. Like Atari almost brought over the Famicom. Imagine how different that imagine playing imagine playing Super Mario Brothers 3 on the Atari Entertainment System.
In some alternate universe somewhere, that could well be happening.
Yeah, but also the crash did, because Nintendo brought it in as a toy.
Yeah,
that's why we got all those gizmos. So it did have there's been kind of an overcorrection a little bit where they try to downplay it to the point of nothingness. I don't agree with that. It had an effect, maybe not as big an effect as people portray it as, but effect nonetheless.
Oh, it definitely had a huge effect. So if you look at things like the quality of seal, Nintendo quality of seal, that wouldn't have existed.
That was a direct result of all the There's no way that the Custer game would have gotten onto the NES.
No, exactly.
For those who don't know, there's a game called Custer's Revenge for the NES, where the entire point of the game, and I literally can't show it on YouTube because it's pornographic, but you're trying to go across the screen, dodging arrows, so you can assault a Native American woman.
Good word. I think that's YouTube friendly, isn't it?
I'm trying. But yeah, Darius raises a good point here. He says Xbox picked up a lot of Dreamcast staff, like Peter Moore. I mean, the Xbox can almost be considered the Dreamcast too. Like it picked up if you look at the original Xbox and you look at like the Dreamcast, they've like Xbox very clearly took inspiration from Dreamcast.
Yeah, I think the Xbox. I think Sega went down a route which I really like, which is the kind of colourful, it was kind of like the 90s but hyper. So it was really colourful, it was really bright, it was really vibrant. I think Xbox went down a different route, which was to try and make it more grown up. So a lot of the games were a lot more.
Its entire thing its entire thing was early 2000s Edge Extreme. It was the Mountain Dew box. There's actually a Mountain Dew branded Xbox, by the way.
Yeah, I can well believe it. And I mean, I never.
Darius, like Famicom was branded as to resemble VCR. Like, I'm sorry, Darius. I needed to come up with a name for it, So, yeah. Yeah, I'm still here. So you keep talking, but like, I don't know. Like, as far as like Sega's demise, I think it happened in the mid '90s. There was two things that did in Sega, was releasing the 32X and then dropping the Saturn early. Like that was a colossal mistake, because like the whole thing was like, oh, we'll release it 5 or 6 months before the PlayStation. That way we'll have a huge thing. And then they did that, and then PlayStation dropped probably the most epic diss track, one-word diss track, $299. That one, like being $100 less than the Saturn, basically just completely demolished it. Every like, it's just all for naught.
No, absolutely. I think the other thing, which might have got them out of it, even despite of that, or at least made it less severe, is if they use their IPs. I mean, if you think of the IPs that
if there was a Sonic game on the Saturn,
Streets of Rage. If you imagine the Saturn, a launch lineup with a Saturn that had Sonic in it, Streets of Rage, Golden Axe.
Fun fact. Are you familiar with the game Fighting Force?
I am, yeah.
Did you know that was almost another Streets of Rage game?
I did actually, yeah. It was in the back of my mind, but now you've said that, yes. So I've seen a video on it. It's probably about 5 years ago.
All right, keep talking. I gotta step away for a second. I'll be right back.
But yeah, I mean, for me, it was definitely a missed opportunity.
What are some of your favorite Sega Saturn games?
Panzer Dragoon was fantastic. Nights in Streams was fantastic. Sega Rally, fantastic. Virtua Fighter 2 was fantastic. I mean, there were a few. I wish I'd had a Japanese compatible Saturn, because I'm really into vertically scrolling shooters.
You don't need that, right?
I didn't at the time, sadly.
Okay, that's fair. Because like for that,
I know now.
yeah, just like an action replay 4-in-1.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me catch up with the comments. So, Xbox was mature. Halo invented teabagging, the most mature response ever. Yeah. Sony was also smart, partnering with third parties when they had no studio yet. PlayStation ended up with several times. Well, the thing that made the PlayStation easy was, in that generation, is the CD technology. Also, they made the PlayStation very easy to program for. Like, they made sure to have a lot of documentation. The console itself was easy to program for, and they had a lot of programming libraries. And they were very friendly and working with third parties. That's what really helped PlayStation. And as opposed to Saturn, which its architecture is really hard to work with. Nintendo themselves are usually hard to work with, and then the N64 hardware, while interesting and objectively powerful, was kind of gimped by the cartridges.
I think another a really good move that Sony made was they made an arcade board that was practically, for all purposes, the same as the PlayStation One, to which Ridge Racer was released. So they licensed that out to Namco, and the board that Ridge Racer was released on technically is very close to the PlayStation One. So they were very
What's
clever.
interesting is Sega essentially did the same thing with the Naomi hardware.
They did, but they did it the other way round though, and I think that's where they got it wrong. Whereas PlayStation essentially Sony and Namco released the arcade version first, and then ported it as a launch title to the PlayStation One. Oh, it's arcade perfect. Well, it will be. It's running on the same hardware effectively. Whereas Sega did the other thing. They released the Saturn and then they brought out an arcade board. Vice versa. So yeah, they missed a lot of tricks. I think they run their course. I think is the best way to put it.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things about like Sega and Nintendo. I mean, Sega did it themselves, honestly, because they had the IPs, they had hardware, they had the talent. There's a couple of things they could have done, but also like the war between Sega America, Sega Japan, really didn't help either.
I mean, no business does well with infighting. It's as simple as that. If there's infighting in a business, then you're not going to do well elsewhere whatsoever.
But yeah, like just also like for the Dreamcast, they had like a 3DO hardware, and then they had like the Japanese side. Just so many things. I think the Dreamcast is a good piece of kit, but they might went with a 3DO kind of hardware. There's a lot of who knows kind of situations. Like for example, what if the N64 had a disc-based format, Square would have never switched sides because Square was with Nintendo. The thing that made them leave was the cartridge.
Yeah, I think the cartridge was a big part of it, but technically, the Nintendo 64 had other issues in terms of processing textures quickly. For example, there's very slow RAM, transfer in RAM, because again, it had quite complicated hardware. The whole 64-bit thing was bits of it were, but a lot of it wasn't.
From a raw power standpoint, I would argue the N64 might have been the most powerful console that generation.
I don't think it would have been. If you look at the quality of completely taking aside the storage capabilities, if you look at the raw 3D imagery, although it had a softer look because there was a lot of After Effects applied in terms of blurring the textures, etc. It wasn't very detailed. It really wasn't very detailed.
But at the same time, the N64 could have bigger worlds. Because remember, the thing the N64 was known for was those gigantic ass levels. Something that it has these levels that PlayStation could never do. And they had more stuff to do because there is like an N64, like a big N64 style game, which is like the Mario worlds, the Banjo-Kazooies. Yeah. They could do those big ass worlds. And then obviously one of the benefits of the cartridge was faster loading times, which would be negated with the CD. I don't know. To me, I kind of want to see what homebrew looks like when you take away the source code. Because have you seen some of the homebrew for the Atari 2600? Some people have made really good Donkey Kong ports with the Atari 2600.
Yeah. I mean, from looking at it from a developer's point of view, it astounds me. If you look at development these days, you've got a load of tools, and it's basically high level programming. You're typing in code and then off you go. If you look at what you needed to do on the Atari 2600 in particular, you had to control the phosphor beam as it went across the screen because it was so limited. You had to tell it to stop and draw a point and keep going.
which is why I love it when those game developers when they do those little tricks, like you said, Like literally, it's just interrupting it line by line.
Yeah, dot by dot. Absolutely insane.
So I want you to take a look at this. This is a homebrew of Donkey Kong for the Atari 2600. Like, look how good that looks. For the Atari 2600, this is certified black magic.
Do you have a video of the actual release title as a comparison from back in the day?
I mean, I can very easily
Have a look. You'll see the difference. It is quite astounding. Yeah, it's not quite the same.
To be fair, it's a couple of things. Obviously, one, it's they have more storage space. Two, most Atari games were made in 6 weeks, so it's longer dev time. Obviously, more knowledge of the hardware. But yeah.
And tools as well. I think the biggest benefit we have these days are tools that we can plug in and see what's going on. It'd have been done with pen and paper back then.
Mm-hmm.
Totally different time.
But just seeing like the Atari is capable of that is amazing.
Absolutely.
And that's what I love about homebrew is sometimes I can show exactly what a console is capable of. Like I don't know if you've seen like some of the Atari Jaguar homebrew, because that one had a huge homebrew scene in itself. Let's see here. Let's switch it. Let's just get a page in the comments. Square Switch dies from Nintendo to Sony. Metal Gear upgraded. Sega just didn't think 3D gaming. Yep, you're correct there, Darius. N64 had more polygons, but the textures were blurry, and the lighting was very flat, and they couldn't pre-render as many backgrounds as PlayStation fit them on a cartridge. Yeah, storage space and also technical limitations. Like that's why the N64 did stuff differently. I wouldn't say worse than the PlayStation. Dreamcast is so hackable. Yeah, I love the Dreamcast. I freaking love it. Yeah, some of the Dreamcast homebrew is.
Has anybody seen the recent port? I think it's GTA 3 to the Dreamcast.
I literally know one of the guys on the team.
I was very impressed by that.
I actually interviewed him on this stream and whatnot.
Oh, cool.
It's Falco. He's a long-standing person from the Dreamcast scene. Like he was going to do that game of List in Shadows. That didn't really work out. But great guy, freaking genius. He's part of that team. They've done Vice City as well.
Yes, I'd seen that they've moved on to that one, and that's probably my favourite of that generation. Actually, it just had such a cool vibe.
Yeah, but like, and I see like GTA 3 on the Dreamcast is like this big white whale, because it was like, oh, we were considering it was considered to have GTA 3 on the Dreamcast, but this proves it could have worked. And remember, these guys are using CDs. Imagine like a GD-ROM with like with all that stuff. Like GTA 3 could have worked on the Dreamcast. All right. The original PS2 version was 1.57 gigabytes of GTA 3. So, and a GD-ROM held 1.2 gigabytes. Yeah, that is definitely within the range of like you could chop down some stuff and easily fit it in a GD-ROM. Like that's 300 megabytes. Like lower the quality of the audio first and foremost. Like there's quite a couple of things you can do, or just optimize. Like 300 megabytes, that's easy. Am I wrong?
trying to think as a percentage. What's that as a percentage? So you're going from 15, 300. So you're losing a fifth.
1.2.
20%, roughly.
Yeah, roughly.
That's about 20%. So yeah, it's doable. It's doable. I suppose it just wasn't the appetite to do it at the time. That's probably more what it is than the technical reasons.
Oh, I mean, there's probably various reasons. But yeah, there was so much planned for the Dreamcast. Like they were gonna have a zip drive attachment. They were gonna have a memory card that was also an MP3 player. Oh gosh, it could have been amazing.
And then Sega probably went, I remember what happens with our other add-ons.
I mean, it's... Well, the problem with Dreamcast is, in America, it had an amazing launch. Like, that launch lineup is probably one of the greatest launch lineups ever. But then there wasn't really many games that followed up on it.
Yeah.
And Sega was already on the back foot because of the 32X and the Saturn. So, yeah, it was a Hail Mary.
I used to own a Tower of Power. You know the famous tower? So I had a Mega CD, Mega Drive, Mega CD, Mega Drive, and a 32X plugged in all together. And I've got to say, although it's much derided, because I had a legacy collection of Mega Drive games and the good Sega CD games.
Oh, did you do the Tower? No, you haven't done the Tower of Power correctly. So what you do is you put a Game Shark on there, and then Sonic and Knuckles, and then Sonic 3. That is the true Tower of Power, my friend.
But yeah, no, I actually loved the system at the time because it was such a big collection of games. You know, you had all kinds of things. But it had 3 power supplies as well. That wasn't great.
Yeah, and the 32X was decently powerful for the time. Like
it was. I mean, you know, arguably it had the best version of Virtua Racing at home, even including the Saturn version. It was superior, and it had the best version of Virtua Fighter as well. So it could have been good, but what was the point of launching it? It was an intermediary, wasn't it? It was too late.
A holdover
at the same time. Yeah, and it looks silly. I mean, it just looked
and also they abandoned it like within a year. You know. Hey. Okay, fine. Darius, I will do it properly just for you. Hey! Let's get ready to make some crazy money. All right, that's for you, Darius. I love Crazy Taxi. See, the problem with Crazy Taxi is you can't do Crazy Taxi without the Offspring. Like that song, like having any other song there just doesn't work.
No, I mean the other problem.
You know, it's just like
the other problem I found is at the time I used to say that every single time I got into a taxi, and the taxi drivers usually didn't appreciate the humor or understand what I was talking about.
And if they did, it's like, oh, not this again.
God, yeah.
or even better, let's say you're in a taxi and all of a sudden that song comes on, you ask them to turn it up and they just turn it off instead. Because you have the taxi driver where it's like, or you know, they got the radio on, all of a sudden, you know, all the Offspring song comes on. Oh, turn it on, because you realize, holy crap, I'm in a taxi and the song's playing, and they just turn it off because we're not doing that. Oh gosh, I would legit start freaking out if I was in a taxi and that song came on. I would legit start to freak out because it's like, what are the odds? You're in a taxi and like the Crazy Taxi song comes on. You know, it's like one of those, oh my god, you know, like one of those moments. Oh gosh. What do you think of Sonic Adventure? I do like the games.
It's one of those. I love it, but it's clearly broken. I enjoyed it, but as I was playing it, I was like, I'm really enjoying this, but I also know it's completely broken. You know, at the same time, it reminded me a bit like it was almost. I quite enjoy sort of very old school Godzilla films. You know, you can you can see it's a guy dressed in a suit, and it's all very naff, and it doesn't really work. It's a bit rubbish, but I like it, you know. Even
Yeah,
though
or it's like watching the late '90s Batman films, Batman Forever, Batman and Robin. It's like, like they're so terrible, but they've got this like quality to them where it's like, at least you're entertaining.
Yeah, it's a guilty pleasure game for me. It's you know, you can barely control it half of the time.
Yeah, and there's so many times where like you do a jump and you just randomly clip through the walls and fall to your death. You're like, what the fuck, you know, kind of thing. Or even when you're running and like those ramps where you like go up, or, you know, you go too high and you just clip through the top edge.
End. But you know. Yeah, it's a guilty pleasure game. I kind of like it because it's broken. If it wasn't broken, I probably wouldn't like it as much, strangely. But yeah, I mean, Sonic never really transitioned properly into 3D. I don't think there's been a genuine
Sonic Generations is pretty good. I enjoy it.
I like Generations, but I like the 2D levels.
I play Sonic Generations for the 2D levels.
Yeah, and again, it's kind of pseudo 3D. You never feel in control of the 3D levels. I think Generations got closest. You feel relatively in control, but I still think you never feel.
The problem with the 3D ones is there's a lot of spectacle. Like you do your Sonic stuff for like 30 seconds to a minute and a half, and there's like, oh, here you're getting sucked into a vortex. Oh, here you go. You know, there's a lot of those.
Sonic Adventure, you always remember the whale chase scene. That's the one that I always remember. I think it's in the first level. You're running along, and you know, you're walking across or running across a pier of sorts, and this big whale starts sort of chasing up behind you. Is that Sonic Adventure? One of the other ones, I can't remember. It's one of the early 3D Sonic scenes. And again, the spectacle's great. What I really hated about Sonic in 3D was
have you seen the Sonic Adventure 2 version of Green Hill Zone?
Possibly. A long time ago. Let's have a look. Yeah. What's going on?
What did they record this on? A cheese grater? Oh god, it's literally 240p. What is this, like 2006 YouTube?
I think they recorded it on the Dreamcast at the time and then streamed it.
It was rendered on the Dreamcast. Like the video was like post-processed rendered. Like it was both recorded on it and they it was stored on a zip drive and they had to compress it. We can just go on like that forever.
But yeah, it lacks control. But yeah, for me, the thing that killed it was when he started talking, when voices were involved in Sonic.
Whoa, this is happening.
Yeah, there's like, no, come on, no.
Oh, the best thing I like is when he's talking, you can clearly see they're just stretching the vertices instead of its actual like instead of it being like actual like rigged movement, they're just stretching the vertices. You can clearly tell that.
I'd say a very underrated a game I owned was Sonic CD. That was a great Sonic game. 3D bonus stages, it was terrible, but the game itself was very deep. I think it was.
Have you played Sonic Mania?
Yes, I have. Yeah, I enjoy that actually. I do enjoy that.
It's pretty good.
But why do I enjoy it? Because it's like Sonic 2.
Sonic 2 is my favorite. I literally have Sonic 2 on Genesis. So
I never got on with 3. Sonic 3 missed me. I was kind of Sonic 2. I was about 14, so I was about 14 years old when Sonic 2 came out. So I was at the right age to really enjoy it. And I lived very close to Sega Trocadero in London. I ended up working next door actually a few years later. So when it was released, you know, Sega Trocadero in London was a massive Sega centre, a big arcade, and you know, razzmatazz and whatever have you, and it was really exciting. It was really rock and roll, you know, at the time with the things that were going on. And then by Sonic 3, I was kind of 16, 17. Yeah, I was just getting that little bit too old to really appreciate it. So yeah, for me, Sonic 2 was the peak of that series. Not technically, but it, in terms of nostalgia.
Yeah. So so let's kind of start wrapping up here. So when do you plan on releasing the full version of your game?
Well, that's a good question. So the plan at the moment is there's going to be one. So it's currently in version 0.4. So if you buy it on Steam now, the version is the arcade mode only. So it's 20 tracks. It's very sort of straightforward. What you'd expect. What's been worked on since is the full package. So that's all of the other modes, all of the other content, and so on and so forth. And that'll be version 0.5. So 0.5 is, I would kind of call it going into a beta stage. We're kind of in beta then. How long it then takes to release will be based on the feedback from early access. So the point of doing early access for me was it's a big game, it's a massive game, and feedback from users is absolutely essential. 100% essential. Need to know what people think and what they need changing or don't need changing. Now, maybe it goes to version 0.5 and 80-90% of people are like, that's fantastic, it's brilliant, in which case I'll release it at Christmas. Now it could go to version 0.5 and people will say, I don't like this, I don't like that, this isn't working, blah, blah, blah. In which case it will be slightly later. But the key date really is version 0.5, which will essentially be the finished product. It will just, as I say, be based on feedback. And looking to do that around about November time. So November, possibly October, will be version 0.5, which will be the full version. And then, dependent on feedback, that will be the basis of the date for full release. Because when the full release happens, that'll be cross-platform, so it won't just be PC. It'll be PlayStation, PlayStation 2, Switch 2, Atari potentially, etc., etc., etc. So yeah, the big date for me will be late October, early November. I'll be posting on X. I should be doing it weekly. I'm doing it daily at the moment. So if you want to know what's going on, follow me on X, and you'll get the latest of what's happening. And as I say, yeah, the key thing for me, it's as I say, the passion was to make a game that not only I wanted, but that other people want. That's really
and I think you've accomplished that goal. I think you have.
So yeah, watch this space, basically.
All right. So Ross, I just want to say thank you for coming on. Thank you, Darius. Thank you, Hooded Raven. Thank you, Thana Brown. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Alta Kahuna. That was a nice little treat to have you come on there. I appreciate that. So, if you guys like this, please give us a like. I'm gonna try and bring on more indie devs because I enjoyed this. And Ross, you're welcome on the channel anytime. You're a good person.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it, and thank you. Sorry if I'm a bit tired, by the way.
Dude. Yeah, it's late. I get it.
It's 1 a.m. So if I started to waffle, I do apologise. But thanks, guys. Thanks everyone to the chat as well, and thank you, Nick, for hosting. Really appreciate it.
Yes, and thank you. And as always, this has been Nick from the Phoenix Press. And remember, I can only shut the door